Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to episode 309 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly news, culture, and gaming podcast for Words About Games. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Tori Roberts. Hello.
Hello.
I'm a static image on the screen again. This is great.
I know, right? It's going to become a theme if I'm on here anymore.
I'm a JPEG. Love being a JPEG. It's great. How's it going? How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. And yourself?
Good. Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about it before I hit record, and my fingers hurt.
Yeah. You were playing White Noise, right?
And yeah, neon white.
Oh, neon white noise. Where the hell
White
did I
noise.
get that
White
from?
noise. If white noise was hurting my fingers, I'd be wondering how
It feels like white noise right now.
why I was
Just pure
playing that.
static in your fingers.
Pretty much, yeah. Like that's what you do. That's what happens. Like about partway through the game, I was like, I'm gonna get all the gold medals.
This is what commitment gets you.
And this is what commitment gets me. Everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a 6-hour game if you mainline the story. 20 hours later, I'm nearly finished.
Have you enjoyed it though?
Oh my god, I've enjoyed it so much. I can't wait to do a review of it.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be good.
I am. The only thing is, I did the thing, right? When I record my review footage, I always just record like the first couple hours of a game. Because, like, you know, you could accidentally like put spoilers up for like late game stuff if you just have all the footage available to you. But like,
Yeah.
I've obviously gotten progressively like better and better at the game. And like,
Oh.
I'm worried about like going back to my old footage and then just being like, oh man, but like I could do that so much better.
Just do the first couple hours again, so that when you're playing it, everyone's like, "Oh, hello! This game looks very smooth and fun to play. This person's clearly a professional."
Or they look at it and go, what the fuck's happening? I can't understand what's happening.
Oh yeah, that can happen too.
And I'm just like, bang, 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 boom, boom, yeah, did it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been there when someone's like, "Oh, you should try Doom Eternal. That game's incredible." And they show me, and they basically speed run the game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What is going on here?"
Yeah, it's just like, what's happening? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I hate that.
God.
Like it's good when you watch like a speedrun or something, like, but when someone's like showing you a game for the first time, and it's just like, let me show you the game. And you're like, cool, and then it's just like colors and visual noise, and you're just like, I don't understand what's happening.
This definitely looks like my kind of game. You look away and you're just like, what the hell?
But you seem to be having fun. Like I get that from like Beat Saber, watching like when a Beat Saber video pops up on my thing, and I'm just like, my brain's not even translating what inputs you're doing on the screen, and I'm just like, I don't know.
It's impressive though that some people can play games that well. You know, I mean, I'm saying this as someone that like fully 100%ed Meat Boy, but
Oh god.
you know, there's some crazy games out there that people are just absolutely masterful with.
Oh yeah. It's why I like
It's amazing.
Soulsborne speedruns.
Ooh, I actually haven't checked them out. I usually watch a lot more old school speedruns, you know, like Super Metroid, Ocarina of Time. They managed to recently beat Ocarina of Time in that Super Smash Bros. Brawl mode where you get like a small amount of time to demo some of the historic games throughout Nintendo's past. And one of them's Ocarina of Time, and you get a 5-minute time slot. And speedrunners can now beat the game within that 5-minute demo.
Oh, I can't wait to see that at GDQ. I think last GDQ someone did Sekiro blindfolded.
What?
I know.
That is incredible.
I think it was the one before that they did someone else did Mario 64 blindfolded.
Wow. I mean, I've seen someone beat Dark Souls with bananas before, but you know, you can still see.
Yeah, you can see what you're doing even if you're holding bananas. Or a Guitar Hero controller.
Wow.
Oh man.
Guitar Hero is such a craze.
If I close my eyes, I just see neon white levels.
Yeah, you should definitely play more of that after this, for sure.
I mean, I got to finish it. Like, I've got like another. I think I've got another like half an hour left.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, I've literally just
Wow,
got like the last 2 levels,
that's amazing.
and I think a
That's
side quest,
amazing.
and that's it.
Wow. What kind of genre would you put it under? Because to me, it seems it's like a first person. It's kind of like if Doom and Hotline Miami had a baby
So
in a way.
that's my first 1,000 words of my review. It's going to be like so. I'm gonna try and describe this.
Mm-hmm.
The Verge had a byline on their review. Um, Someone showed me like the headline and the byline, which was Quake meets Persona meets something else.
That's a good one. That's a good comparison from what I've seen.
I'm
Isn't there
gonna
cards as well? Like you've got like cards that you've got to use for weaponry or
sort
something.
of yes. Your cards are your guns, but you discard them to do like different moves. So like you discard the pistol and it's a double, and it gives you like a double jump. It's a bit
Ooh.
puzzle. It's a bit like a really really fast puzzle game.
Yeah, I remember when Hotline Miami came out, the developers actually described it as a puzzle game described as an action, not described, but disguised as an action game. And I was like, yeah, it really is, because like you think about how there's like a layout on certain items, and to like really maximize your efficiency, it becomes almost like you've got to plan what you're doing ahead, and it's really really cool.
No, there's no time for that.
Just pick up the plan of hot
In Neon
water
White,
and
it's
beat
like
a
you got a
guy with
second.
it.
It was Quake plus Persona plus Mirror's Edge was the
Oh,
formula.
I can see that for sure. Yeah.
Me too. Huh.
Yeah, you can see it with your eyes shut. It's all
I
you
can see
can
it with my
see.
eyes shut. I think I can see it with my eyes open. To be honest, um, I literally just finished like 10 minutes before we were recording.
Oh wow! But you're gonna be dreaming about it.
I was dreaming about it last night as I was like dozing
Oh.
off. You know, like that half dream state that you're in when you're like falling asleep,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah.
was a Neon White level.
Yeah. They need to make a level editor in that. That sounds like something that would be fun.
I don't trust gamers. Like
Yeah.
they'll like the developer of Neon White obviously set out to make a game where it's like, oh, this is going to be really challenging, but very rewarding. Whereas I feel like if there was a level editor, I feel like gamers would just be like, I'm going to break someone today. Like,
It'll be Mario Maker all over again.
yeah, exactly. Those what are they called? Kaizo levels.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's several of those Kaizo games now, as
Yeah,
well as like the actual levels that they made in Mario Maker.
yeah. It'll just be that.
That sounds fun though, especially for someone that 100% their game.
I mean, I'm good, but I don't know if I'm that good.
That's fair. That's fair. God. So, what are we talking about today? What's the topic?
Oh, we got all sorts of cool video game stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It's going all over the
Yes,
place.
we do. Oh gosh, because now the presentations are basically done unless Nintendo does one later in the
Yeah.
month.
I mean, I think they will. But
I reckon so too. Yeah.
yeah, this podcast is almost a news podcast again.
Hey.
Remember the good old days of 3 weeks ago
Yeah, it's
when
flown by.
I know, right? Like, although to be fair, it only feels like yesterday when you were last on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. It really does.
That was
It
a fun
really
time.
does. Yeah, and it's gonna be fun today, like, because now we know all the stuff that we were predicting was gonna happen.
Yeah, none of it happened.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it was still good. Overall, it was still good.
Oh yeah, like overall it was good. Yeah. Oh, I got like a 2 hour podcast up for like me and Rudy talking about it last week. I ran out of time talking about all the games I wanted to talk about.
I mean, it's fun because like most of the big games this year that people seem to be hyped for are independent games, like indie games, rather than the usual AAA affair. Because loads of the big AAA companies didn't come out this year. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously Nintendo didn't jump in early on on the E3 bandwagon, and
yeah,
then we didn't get Ubisoft or anything really.
yeah. I feel like that's what normally happens, though. In it, like normally, like when there's an E3 or something, like I'll find all the cool indie games and like get the different like wholesome directs and whatnot. But they always get drowned out by the
Hmm.
big AAA announcements. But like there were a couple, but like most of the biggest AAA announcements happened like this week, like after the Summer Game Fest and Xbox show.
Yeah, that's really good though, because it means that indies have had like time to shine, and there's been so much good stuff announced
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
like
people.
this year.
I've seen a lot of people talking
Hmm.
about indies and stuff, which is always nice.
It is, especially with them being like much more affordable, and I think people are getting tired of this gore fest that you're seeing all the time, and the same kind of the same AAA stuff that just gets repeated
Y-
ad nauseum. So it's nice to see people like, hey, I just want to get a farm game where I can just build a cute little house and get some chickens.
yeah, you're not wrong. The backlash to the summer game fest, or like the discussion, the post show discussion afterwards, where it was just like the first half of it was just all like the same game, more or less. That was interesting to
Mm,
see because like I've always wanted to do this as like a podcast episode, and maybe like next time Moody's not around, I'll invite you back and we can have a long discussion about it. But it's just like I
hmm.
arrived at that point, like, and I'm not like hashtag not all AAA games, but like that's where I got with like AAA games. I think a few years ago, where I was just like I was having the same experience over and over again, for
Yeah.
for the most
Honestly,
part.
it seemed to me like they were all inspired by each other, which created this weird little circle of them just like copying each other to the point where they were all just making the same thing. Like, and now that Breath of the Wild's like had a few years, you're starting to see more games coming out that are now like Breath of the Wild's open world formula because it was so popular. But what developers don't realize is by the time that their game is finished and released, it will have been 4 years from them starting, say, which
Yeah,
makes it like 10 years from when Breath of the Wild came out. So the industry and the people's wants and needs for video games will have changed.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they seem blind to that. And it's so frustrating because it's been that way since, like, what, the late 2000s? Like, when that kind of pattern started to emerge.
yeah. I
And
think I'd say sort of. I
yeah.
think the pattern really started to have to be happen with like the Xbox 360 and PS3 era, but
Yeah.
like, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
just about tolerance levels, isn't it? Where it's just like eventually, like I think most people will be like suddenly like go off in search of something new and different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a AAA really are missing a huge opportunity to be like the grand big budget innovators. But they kind of choke. They're kind of like choked by the shareholders and the shareholders' wants and desires.
Yeah,
So
right. It's like the game's
yeah.
got to be as profitable as possible for like return on investment.
Hmm.
Which I understand that they are businesses, but like, what's the most best selling game? It's Call of Duty. So, I mean, still like,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I was thinking about this because I haven't reviewed Horizon yet, Horizon Forbidden West yet, and I was like, it's a good game and I enjoyed it, but like, there are mechanics and like systems in that game where it's just like I feel like they're here, like they're in the game because they're popular or people like them. Like they don't necessarily
Hmm.
fit the game.
Yeah. Like it seems like almost every other game's getting shoehorned in with the same skill trees, compass style mini map thing where you're constantly looking at these little icons telling you what to do and where to go. And yeah, people are starting to find it stale. I think people are just starting to get a little burnt out by it,
I think so.
which is only good for the industry because it only means it's got to evolve and innovate in different ways.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta push to do something different. Like think about
hmm.
all the games that have exploded on Twitch out of nowhere, and it's like Among Us, Phasmophobia, Fall Guys. You know what I mean? Like
A lot of them are like double A games, aren't they? Or even like smaller budget indie games.
exactly, yeah.
It's great.
It's good to see. I always like to just see like something come out of nowhere and blow up. Like I was surprised by the reception in Neon White, even though I was looking forward to it because I played a demo of it at Next Fest not this one, but the one before.
Right.
And I was really looking forward to it, and I was excited for it. And then when I opened OpenCritic to see what the reviews were saying, like not all of them had got the site yet, so it was on like a 93, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Like
That's
this
amazing.
is supposed to be like a niche game full of weirdos. Like it's on like an 88 now, which is still like really, really good. But
Really good, yeah. But look, like, excuse me, games like Persona 5,
this is true, yeah.
like that
Persona
game did
5, yeah.
insanely well for a very traditional RPG in terms of gameplay mechanics. Anyway,
It's a very
you know.
specific type of game. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in Persona 5 or Neon White where it's like you don't feel like it's not meant to be there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's there because the developers kind of felt that it complemented the rest of the
yeah,
package.
exactly. Like there's a reason it's here, like for whatever that reason is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think that's the first time in a long time we've bantered on this podcast
Yeah.
about video
Mm-hmm.
games.
Yeah.
Usually it's the part of the podcast it's not about video games, and I'm sure it doesn't annoy anyone who comes to a video game podcast to spend 15 minutes of us reviewing Game of Thrones.
True. True.
But let's start the show. This
Mm-hmm.
is the Words About Games podcast. Every Monday, you can get a video version of the show on youtube.com/wordsaboutgamesuk, or an audio version on a variety of platforms, including Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more. There's timestamps in the description wherever you choose to get your podcasts, so you can see what we've been chatting about, skip around, or watch the entire podcast backwards if you like. We don't mind. We're just happy that you're here. If you'd like to support the show or our content directly, you can buy us a coffee over at coffee.com/wordsaboutgames. And lastly, if you want to hang out with us while we play some games, head over to twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. And if you want to hear us talk about and review some video games, we also publish reviews on our YouTube channel. Guess what I'll be reviewing this week?
Oh, I wonder. Oh gosh. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about those like showcases, those events that happened.
A couple of stragglers, a couple of latecomers to the old showcase. I was hoping Nintendo would be one of them, but it wasn't.
Yeah, people are rumored that it's like the 29th, the 29th of June. So yeah,
cool. I'm looking forward to it. For actually one of the reasons why is like further down these show notes. But at the top of the show notes, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been announced for winter 2023. This is by me. I wrote all of this. Thank you very much. Most of it's quotes, but I can give myself the credit for writing this part of the document. So I write, Square Enix has announced the second installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. New footage of the game was shown at the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary celebration, presented by producer Yoshinori Kitase. And then it's just quotes all the way down. Creative director Tetsuya Nomura said in a statement, quote, "The development of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been progressing rapidly since we adopted a new development structure. A title of this scale in which everything is interconnected even before production began is truly rare. In fact, some development has already begun on the third title. I myself have started on the development and am working towards the completion of the series," end quote. Director Naoki Hamaguchi said, quote, "The Final Fantasy VII Remake project will be a 3-part trilogy, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is much more than just one installment in the series. We are developing it with all the passion and dedication needed to create an original game and plan to deliver the ultimate gameplay and world-building experience," end quote. Lastly, producer Yoshinori Kitase added, quote, "Making the middle part of a trilogy has its own challenges, but there are plenty of classic second installments in the world of film that are defined by stunning story twists and deeper explorations of their characters. Often these second installments become a favorite amongst the fans. In the same vein, we are aiming to make Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an even more gripping and memorable experience than Final Fantasy VII Remake, so please wait a little longer while we finish up," end quote. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will release winter 2023. During the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary event, Square Enix also announced a remake of Crisis Core, the prequel to Final Fantasy VII, that was previously only released on the PSP. Dubbed with the exceedingly long and convoluted name Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, Crisis Core recounts the story of Zack Fair, the Shinra soldier turned hero turned Aerith's main boo turned Cloud's comrade. According to the reveal, the Crisis Core remake boasts new upgraded models, new voiceovers, and new music. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion comes to consoles and PC this winter. Boom. There it is.
There it is. Oof. That little showcase was so good. I was even hyped for the alarm clock, honestly.
The alarm clock looked pretty cool, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, like going back to like how they said, oh, the second installments are often like the most popular ones, like the most beloved ones. You know for a fact that when they were thinking of Rebirth, they had Empire Strikes Back in mind.
Yeah, like I can think like Empire Strikes Back, Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, yeah. And what do those like films usually have? Like think about Empire Strikes Back. That's like when all the characters just get like at the lowest point.
Get wrecked.
You know, like which is pretty fitting for Final Fantasy VII story
Sure.
post Midgar. So yeah, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Just before we dive into talking more about this, because I know both of us, for anyone that hasn't played Final Fantasy VII, there will be spoilers for the original game throughout this discussion, so you might want to skip past if you don't want any Final Fantasy VII spoilers. And we're also probably going to spoil Final Fantasy VII Remake too, so just a warning.
A little.
I feel like that's fair enough. I've done the warning.
Yep, it's their fault now. It's their fault if we talk about the spoilery stuff.
Yeah, because you were talking about characters at the lowest point, and I was like, yeah, I know that part of Final Fantasy VII.
Well, do you know what happens in Final Fantasy VII? Like after Midgar?
Do I know?
Yeah.
Oh god.
I don't want to spoil stuff. I've played
the game to completion like 12 times.
Good. Yeah, it's incredible. It's an amazing game. Other than the graphics, it still holds up really well today.
I agree.
Yeah, it's gonna be good because it looks like this game starts off with a really strong opening, just like the first one did. Because Nibelheim usually starts much later in Final Fantasy VII story, but they're actually going to be doing this flashback as the intro to part 2.
That makes sense.
It seems. Well, and I think it's a really strong one.
Cloud tells them all the story of when they're at the village before they get the chocobos to ride across the marsh.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon they'll still go back to Nibelheim a little, just add a little extra flavor to it, but knowing that they start with Nibelheim, that if you finish 7 Remake and you see the power and darkness within Sephiroth, it's going to be such a great like curveball to then dive into seeing him not as a foe but as, you know, someone that Cloud clearly looks up to. It's going to be really interesting.
Oh, definitely. Like I think it's probably going to start from like Cloud telling them that story because it's obviously highly relevant, especially after the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah, because this could go anywhere. Like Rebirth could go anywhere. I think it's safe to say that the original Final Fantasy VII is almost seen as the bad timeline version, the bad ending, and it's about stopping that from happening. And in the first part, it's not really sure if it's going to go in the direction of, are we going to go completely off the rails, or is there constantly going to be this minor resistance, that's keeping you in place? But now it looks like it could go anywhere. That's really exciting. And I almost get a feeling for what the trilogy is going to be about, because they also announced that it's going to be a trilogy now. Yeah,
it's going to be a trilogy. That surprised me a little bit because they got a lot of ground to cover in 2 games. Because they didn't cover, like, for how huge and expansive a title Final Fantasy VII Remake was, they didn't cover a lot of ground in that game.
it was about the first 6 hours of Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII is a 40-50 hour game. So you're looking at covering about 12 hours, like double the content in Midgar per game for the next 2 games to wrap it up properly. But I get the feeling the second one's going to be kind of like open linear, large,
Yes. Yes.
like large open expanses that are connected.
I don't necessarily think Rebirth or the third title are gonna have like open worlds at all.
No, I
Like,
reckon it'll be like Final Fantasy 15.
yeah, or 7 remake, where it's just like you can explore certain areas, to get like side quests and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
like for the
Yeah.
most part, it's gonna be like, okay, we're going to I was gonna say Genova. That's not right.
Oh.
Neon White's melted my brain.
I mean, Genova is.
I mean,
is the
we are going to
bottom of
Genova, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
but I meant the
Yeah, I
city
mean,
with the
Red
giant
Canyon's the
cannon.
first. Yeah.
What
Oh
the
gosh,
hell
I
is
can't
the name
remember
of
the
that
name of that
place? Yeah,
place.
that's what I mean. It's just like,
Uh-oh, we're fake fans.
oh
But
no.
no, but obviously, I can't wait for the Red Canyon sequence. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
Red
yeah, yeah.
Canyon. Oh my god, I'm gonna be bawling. I usually cry at the end of that.
I mean,
Um,
yeah,
it's
in
gonna be
all of its
great.
glory, like in this game, like because that's what I think. I mean,
Oh.
so like I appreciate, like we've said for years, like they were never going to call the next one like remake, because like Final Fantasy VII remake as a title was actually really clever, because it's like, oh, it's they're remaking the story, they're not just remaking the game, and
Mm-hmm.
they've done that part in the first part of the game, so now it's like it's going to be called something else. But
Yeah.
I think they are still going to hit like the main beats from Final Fantasy VII's original story, even if they're like altered in some way. Because like
Yeah.
there's things that people will just want to see, like the city of the ancients and the
Mm-hmm.
canyon, the rocket
Honestly, I
ship.
I think they're gonna do all the stuff. I think they're gonna do all of it. Because if they can afford to do the cross-dressing sequence
Oh, that was so
in
good.
in
Yeah.
Midgar, which was incredible, I thought they were gonna cut that, but they doubled down instead, and I respect
I was
that.
so worried about it, and then it was just like, no,
Hmm.
it's fine, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's better than ever. It's so tongue in cheek, and this time it's not weird. Yeah, it was brilliant,
It's called
and if they
Junon.
can put that in,
I looked it up.
pardon?
The city's called Junon. I looked it up.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. That's gonna be great. But I don't think they're gonna miss anything. I mean, gonna see Gold Saucer in part 2.
Oh my god, we're gonna see the gold saucer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. I don't think I've been this excited for a game since. I mean, I say since Metroid Dread, which wasn't that long ago, but that was a game I was waiting 19 years for.
I
So
mean, you're allowed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm extremely excited. Like, oh my god, like knowing that we know how part 2 should end. We know that part 2 would probably end with Aerith. I don't. We've said spoilers, haven't we?
We've said spoilers.
We know that the game is probably going to end with her dying.
I don't
But
know.
will she now?
I think.
Well,
Well, will she? No, she's not going to. But
I don't think
at
she's dying
least
this time.
not in the same place. But like, I don't know. Like, I think they
No.
could go. It depends how much they cover and how much detail and how big the game is. I'm assuming that
Mm-hmm.
all 3 parts are going to be about the same sort of size.
Mm. I
Because
mean, I reckon part 2 and 3 will be larger just because not only are the worlds going to be partially open now, like, if you look at the mini map on the top of Rebirth, it has like quest icons that seem very far away.
yeah, well,
I get the feel it's going to be bigger
there was
than.
some backtracking as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've got a lot to cover. And with this being such a remake for the fans, and part 1 showed that they did it perfect, pretty much perfect. They're not going to want to screw the other 2 parts up.
See, because you mentioned like they're talking about second installments in trilogies for like films and stuff, and you and me both went to Empire as like that's what they're referencing. So like, I'm pitch something at you. Because like I
Okay.
think we both said in 2020 when we finished 7 and we did the big podcast where we were like, well, the next game's going to end with Aerith dying. I'm going to pitch something for you. The end of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Picture it this. Aerith's, whatever happens to Aerith has happened in that city.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, that was ages ago. And it's Cloud's fallen into the live stream. And like, Tifa and Barrett are having that conversation. And you know where Barrett opens the curtains and there's a meteor coming towards the planet.
Oh yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
like, boom, see
Mm-hmm.
you in 4 years.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think that would be amazing. I was actually thinking that like the developers might want to end it with Aerith not dying and someone else dying, because I feel like Cloud's gonna step in and save her, knowing, because if you remember in the first part, he touched Aerith
Yeah, he
and he
knows.
seemed
Yeah.
to have. Yeah, he knows, so he's gonna save her in part two.
What
I
if Cloud
reckon.
dies?
Well, this is it. This is it. I think it's possible that either Cloud dies or Zack dies in that moment, because Zack's not dead anymore.
I see where you're coming from, but like, if Zach, I feel like I feel like, and again, like, you know, they can do this in a number of different ways, but I feel like if Zach dies, I'm gonna be, I feel like that's a little bit easy.
It is a little easy, but if they build him up in this game, it could be worth it. Also, I've
What
got
if
a weird
Tifa
theory that
dies?
we're still going to see Jesse. Oof, no. We're going to see Jesse in the Gold Saucer.
I think, yeah, they made a point of like bringing back two of the characters. I don't know, like
Yeah.
Jesse got a really nice goodbye scene though. Like, I kind of hope they don't. Much as I
Me
like that
too, but at the
character.
same time, it would kind of be like, after feeling so sad at losing, we've had enough time for that to still hit well. If we see her being the successful actor, but what if she doesn't even know who Cloud and Aerith are? What if she doesn't know them anymore? Because the timeline thing's screwy now.
Everything's fucked.
Yeah.
Well,
Everything's screwed. But
the
yeah.
protectors of the timeline are gone now. So
Yeah. Oh god, it's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be absolutely amazing.
it is. It is.
I fully believe in it.
I'm now just like, who's gonna die?
I know, because in part one, Barrett nearly died.
But I nearly
Whoa.
threw my fucking PlayStation out through the
I
window when that
cried
happened.
so much.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, honestly, that's the thing. Anyone could die now. Like, it's added this element where even Cloud isn't immortal. Like, he's not. Just because we know he's the hero of 7 doesn't mean he's going to make it to the end of 7 trilogy, the remake trilogy. It could very well be Zack replacing him for the rest of the games if he does die.
I mean,
Or
yeah,
maybe
that's
they'll just go
possible.
on without him. So
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna
mean,
be-
there's part of Final Fantasy VII where you do go on without him. So
And there's also Crisis Core, which is getting a remaster slash remake. It looks more like a remake,
well,
but they're
it'll
calling it
be
a
in the style
remaster.
of Final Fantasy VII remake, at least in terms of like gameplay.
Yeah,
I wonder,
and
like, so they've done new voiceovers. So
they have the
they could
replace
have
Eric's
done
voice actor.
they could have done so like they could change like parts of the story to fit in with like Final Fantasy VII remake.
Well, I
And
think the fact
Rebirth.
it's called Reunion. It's another re. You got Reunion, Remake, Rebirth.
Yeah, I would
And
have
I
taken.
think
I would
Reunion.
have put money on part 3 of Final Fantasy VII being called Reunion.
Yeah, because at the end, I was thinking that 7 Rebirth would end with at the top of the mountain, Cloud and Barrett and Tifa are in jail. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
everyone's split up. All the characters at their lowest point.
exactly.
The meteor is coming down.
That's such a
Boom.
good place to end
Black
part
screen.
2.
Yeah, and yeah, it's going to be wild because there's going to be more to it now. And I think Reunion's going to add to that new story, because I don't know if it was in end of Reunion's trailer where it showed you Sephiroth, then a different version of Sephiroth with shorter hair and blood on his face.
Where it was glitching out, where he was walking through the fire in one of the more iconic Final Fantasy VII shots.
So clearly, like, they're linking Reunion to the new trilogy.
Something has to change at the end of Crisis Core, like for Zack to be walking up to Midgar in the end of Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, so what if Reunion is in the same timeline as the remake trilogy instead of the original timeline? Is that what we're getting at?
Maybe. Like, they'll add stuff and change stuff. Like, you know how like they did in remake, where it's like there were small changes that didn't really like affect the story all that much, but they were cool. Like when you got to go on a mission with Biggs, Jesse, and Wedge, for example. And
Oh,
I
I
think
love that.
I think
Yeah,
they'll
that's
do that
brilliant.
stuff like all the way through Crisis Core, and then there'll just be like one big change at the end.
Yeah, he lives, and you
Something
see
changes,
him and
yeah.
Cloud walking off into the distance, and that's the end of Crisis Core.
The
Yeah, and
Sephiroth
then
that is
there's
fucking with the timeline does something.
hmm the cool thing is they're doing that Ever Crisis too, where it has like I don't know if it does, but I'm pretty sure I heard it goes through Crisis Core and Final Fantasy VII story in the original timeline.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the original game just being brought out on mobile, isn't it?
yeah, it should come to Switch and other consoles though. That
Oh, well,
looks
yeah.
beautiful. It looks so fun. Um, so yeah, we'll have to see. But Final Fantasy VII fans are eating well, so
It's
you
about
know
damn time.
it is. Yeah, Square Enix. Funny enough, Square Enix actually had a leak, and most of the stuff on that leak list came true.
Aye.
And one of the other things was Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
IX
9.
remake. Yes. Oh my god, I can dream. I can dream. That would be incredible.
Well, it
Yeah.
depends how quickly they can make part 3, right? Because like they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the development being faster, and I don't think they want to make. I don't think they like, and whether this happens or not, but I don't think they want to make people wait 4 years
Mm-hmm.
from 2023 to like play the final part of the trilogy. Like I think they'd want to get it out faster if they can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get the feeling that part three will be out like early 2027.
Yeah, which will be like a
Uh,
little bit sooner. Like,
yeah.
but I think internally, like they'll be aiming for something a bit faster, and it depends what they do. Like if they do end it at if they do end Rebirth at the place where we both just said like would make a great ending, it's like that's like a huge chunk of Final Fantasy VII. You know, like
Oh yeah.
there's not a
Yeah, and
great
it
deal
means that
after
part
that.
three exactly, and it separates us of three. Part three can focus on the gang coming back together and then searching for these summons, searching for these powerful creatures in order to confront a greater evil. So it would be a really good way because then the part three can base its own like thematic gameplay, its own style of gameplay, with this twist of finding. I call them Eidolons because that's what I'm used to calling them. Searching for
Yes.
these Eidolons to confront Sephiroth. So that could be really cool. But it looks like 16 is going to be coming out between part one and part two of 7. I think Final Fantasy
Yeah,
9 remake will come out between part 2 and 3.
it's coming out early 2023. I mean, you say
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy VII fans are eating. I think Final Fantasy fans are just eating in general. Like, 14
Oh
still
yeah.
going strong, and Crisis Core is coming out, and like within 12 months, if everything goes according to plan for
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix, Crisis Core, Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will all have come out.
Yeah.
This is what
And
it's
if you
like
get
to be a
9,
Pokemon fan.
well, I know, right? I know. All we need now is another good Crystal Chronicles game, and I'm set for life.
Or do a like good World of Final Fantasy 2.
What's that again?
That was the game that came out a few years ago on PS4. World of Final
Oh,
Fantasy.
World. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, do another one of
It
them.
was good.
It was the game. It was
Yeah.
the game that everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's Final Fantasy VII." Oh no, it's not. And then it was actually Final Fantasy VII.
All the cheapy little cute characters, though. It was
Yeah,
so cute. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Final Fantasy's probably the strongest it's been since the 90s,
definitely.
honestly.
Yeah, like definitely. Which is
Mm-hmm.
it's so weird when you think about like at 14, it's obviously like a big MMO. A lot of people play it. It's very popular, but like Final Fantasy's
Mm-hmm.
in the strongest place it's ever been. But like the last two mainline titles haven't been universally like loved. Like 13 and 15 were.
Yeah, they were kind of. I think it's because they didn't know what direction to go in the franchise. Like 13 was a corridor RPG. It was
Yeah.
incredibly linear to a point of being boring, in my personal opinion. I'm sure people love it and they have my respect for that. And 15 just felt like, oh, we should do this big game. And they're like, how? And we're like, well, let's just cobble it together and hope it comes out good. And then they didn't even finish it, which is sad.
Yes, I
They had
remember
to finish it in the
remember
form of
that.
a novel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was a
started in the
shame.
form of a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and
And
I
no one wants to
enjoyed it,
play.
but
Yeah, it was fun, but no one really wants to play as four typical dudes in a car just throwing banter at each other for 70 hours. That's not really Final Fantasy. So I can see why so many people are alienated by it,
definitely,
myself included.
like, it didn't really hit
But
any.
look at it now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it just
It didn't really hit
yeah,
anything
it
until I got
didn't
to the second half of the game, to be honest.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was yeah, it really did set itself up well. I mean, I spent more time fishing than actually doing the story, so
Like, yeah, I feel like there's a part where you get to the city with the water. It's like Venice type city, and then shit goes down, and
mm,
then from there it was like, okay, this is actually doing something interesting. But like, it took you like 20 hours to get there. Like, which
mm-hmm.
it's a problem that's because Final Fantasy 13 had the same issue where it's like you finally got somewhere, but it took you like 30 hours to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it when those kind of games get to the point. Like Seven's intro and remake too, obviously, has one of the best in the series. Six's intro, one of the best in video game history.
Yep.
Nine, really strong intro.
Because
And
you just get to it. It's like okay, there's no like 20 hours of backstory to set up like the crisis the planet is facing, like the environmental crisis caused by
mm-hmm.
Shinra. It's like no, Cloud's jumping off a fucking train, and 40 minutes later, like the whole fucking place is exploding. Like, all right, that's how you do. That's how you
Yeah,
started. It's like, okay, you got my
that's how
attention.
you start. Yeah, because it's hard to care about these characters that are dragging out. Like, obviously, like Final Fantasy 15's main mode of transport is just in a car, which means you can only really drive forwards or backwards,
Yep.
which isn't an interesting mode of travel. Like, if you could drive the car off road and do what you wanted, that
Yep.
could have been cool. But they didn't. They kept it like the travel was so linear,
Yeah.
and walking on foot was so slow, and it was a
And
shame.
like it set itself off like this inciting incident of like, okay, the kingdom has been invaded, like, and that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, but that's happened all the way over there, and I'm seeing like no negative repercussions, like for
Exactly.
myself as playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have been like the intro of Final Fantasy VII is everybody sitting around on a couch, like just dicking around, like hunting monsters or something, and then you see on the news
Mm-hmm.
that like some terrorist organization has bombed Sector 7 reactor. Like it's a thing that happened
Yeah.
over there. Why do I care? Like,
Mm-hmm. I think players like to feel invested in the story and not be told the story to them. You know
yes,
what I
that's
mean?
it.
It's
That's
the problem
absolutely it.
Destiny has. Destiny
Like
2 has that same problem, sadly.
it's something I like talk about a lot in like critiquing like stories and stuff. It's just like I don't want you to like tell a story at me. I want to experience the story. Like if you have to tell me a character is a badass and I can't just figure that out from watching them do the badass things on the screen, I'm not going to think they're a badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Some people do like stories to be told peripherally, though, and that's very fair too.
Oh,
But for Final
definitely.
Fantasy, it doesn't really work. So, but yeah, I think Final Fantasy is doing really well. Seven remake looks incredible. Rebirth looks incredible, and yeah, there's tons of other good stuff too that's coming out that we haven't spoke about
Oh, there's
yet.
plenty of time. Don't worry.
Good,
Um,
good.
so here's a question.
Mm.
What do you think Final Fantasy VII Part 3 is going to be called?
Oh no, I knew you were gonna ask that question. Um, hmm, Revengeance.
That would be amazing.
Just go the Metal Gear
It's
route.
literally just like the same gameplay as Revengeance.
Oh god, no! Final Fantasy 16 is already doing that.
Final Fantasy 16 looks dope.
It does. The combat worries me, but it does look really good. It does look really good.
I'm willing
But
to give them
yeah,
the benefit of the doubt on that one.
kind of. But after trying FF7 Remake's incredible battle system, I'm worried that they're going to take all the strategy out of it and replace it with you hit an enemy, you see numbers. The what they're called, the dominance.
But everybody
Their
loves
fights
numbers.
look incredible.
They do.
I know, but it doesn't look like there's enough impact with the attacks to me. Like, it's all very flashy and beautiful and looks incredible to look at, but it's all flash and not enough substance for me personally for a Final Fantasy title. But I'm willing to give it a try. We've still got Final Fantasy VII games to get that battle system that we want, and the Eidolon slash dominance fights look absolutely mind blowing. So yeah, it's going to be really good.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nice dodge. You dodged the question quite well, though.
I said revengeance.
Revengeance.
I mean, obviously that was it was a joke title. I honestly have no clue.
I don't know. Like, you gotta think. Trying to think of things that like begin with re, right? Like Ari, like Reunion was my guess, and then they were like Crisis Core Reunion, and I was like, I'm probably not gonna call it Reunion.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. Jesus. So we've got remake, rebirth,
Requiem.
redundancy package.
Requiem was my guess.
Requiem. That would be pretty. Yeah. Requiem. Ooh. Yeah, I'm voting for that. That's what I'm doing.
It's a cool word.
It is, and it's pretty too, which kind of suits the theme of what part 3 would be about. You know, the healing aspect of that part of the story. So yeah, that would be perfect.
There's a couple
Someone jot that down for later.
There's a couple I've seen on the internet. I could have taken credit for them, but I'm not going to. But Redemption. But I feel like that's too long a word for like the graphic.
Yeah.
Because like I'm taking my 2 years where I failed GCSE graphic design, and I'm looking at the logo, and I'm like, it has to be a short word.
Yeah, exactly. Because we know Square Enix hate long game titles.
No, just because of the way the logo is with, because you got Final Fantasy, and then you got the meteor thing coming through it.
Yeah.
And then Remake and Rebirth are both on like the right hand side underneath.
And they're all like 6-letter words too, right?
Yeah.
So
or Requiem isn't a 6-letter word.
I mean 6 or 7. Yeah, so I reckon Requiem could get away with it though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Although Rebirth is 7 less. I just counted
it's
them.
true, I'm not good at math.
I was like, wait a minute.
The H is silent.
Rebirth.
Bert is coming back. It's confirmed.
Rewrite was another one.
Rewrite. Redo.
Well, it's like a bookend. It's like a remake, rewrite.
Rewind.
I mean, rewind. Maybe they like fuck up the timeline so badly they have to go back and put it all right.
This is worse than the meteor hitting the planet.
It's like, shit. We fucked up. Time travel time, baby.
I don't know why the Ghostbusters theme song just went in my head when you said that, but yeah.
But the best one I seen that wasn't Requiem. Requiem was the one I came up with. Was Final Fantasy VII Return.
Return. See, that could be good, but it sounds like Returns, which makes it sound like it's been dormant for a while.
Lightning
and we know
Returns.
they're like blasting these games out. Oh god, no, it's not gonna be Return. Oh gosh. I don't know. I think whatever it gets called, it's gonna be cool. And we're gonna like it.
I mean, it's gonna be a cool game, right?
It's gonna be amazing.
Yes.
I'm super excited for it.
I've just got to get to winter 2023 now.
Oh, it's gonna fly by. We'll be here before you know it, talking about it in the podcast again.
Oh god,
no doubt.
yes. We are gonna have a podcast. I do this thing now, because before when we did that, it was a special podcast episode thing. But like now, like if I do I do some reviews as discussions, so we'll just review the game when we've both finished it, and that'll be the review.
That would be brilliant.
6-hour review, like the game. The game, we'll review the game in like 45 minutes, and then we'll spend 5 hours talking about like our theories, like part 3.
There's gonna be loads. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But what about the other stuff?
I love video games.
I freaking love video games too. Too much sometimes,
The other
but
stuff. There is other stuff. But first, I'm going to do Indie Game of the Week. I feel like I didn't know how long we were going to talk about Final Fantasy VII, so I literally put everything else in the second part of the podcast. Because we have previous.
oh yeah, no, we've probably talked about Final Fantasy VII more than anything.
Probably, well, almost everything.
Nearly as much as Game of Thrones.
Nearly as much as Game, that's exactly what I was referring to. It's time for Indie Game of the Week. This is the thing we do every single week, where we just see cool indie games that are coming out in the future and we decide to pick one and tell you about it. This week's Indie Game of the Week is Nivalis. And here's the store description. Welcome to Nivalis. Making it in this cyberpunk city isn't easy. The gangs want to harvest your organs, the core will fine you for breathing, and the whole time, the ground under your feet is crumbling. This city could fall into the ocean tomorrow, so you better make your fortune today. You've got to start small. A food stall, a noodle stand, a stim store. Build your way up to a bar, a restaurant, or even a nightclub. Eventually, you'll own all the nightlife in Nivalis. You'll own the night. In Nivalis, you choose how to spend your time in the city. In this unique slice of life sim with realistic weather simulation and night and day cycles, you can grow your business, meet strange and diverse characters, form friendships, and experience the danger and wonder of this cyberpunk voxel city. This is being developed by Ion Lands. It's published by 505 Games and is coming TBA to PC via Steam.
Ooh. It looks very colourful, doesn't it?
Do you like a good little slice of life sim?
Yeah.
I have
It's
always
very
wanted
colourful,
a noodle
very
stand.
pretty. Haven't we all?
I mean, just living that chill life, serving noodles in the cyberpunk dystopia.
I don't want to be the main character anymore. I just want to be the noodle bar guy.
Yeah, right. I just want to be an NPC. Like, main character is exhausting.
It is, especially when 90% of the main characters just shoot people and make guts pop up everywhere.
I mean, that's what some showcases would lead you to believe.
Yeah, sadly.
Guns.
Sadly.
Everything has to have guns.
At least Squanch Games made it original. You know, that was like the only original shooter I saw. There was a lot of good ones, don't get me wrong. But that
yeah, like, I mean, we said it last week. It's like nothing about the games. It's just like back-to-back, like, murder, violence, guns, gore, space, and horror. It's just like, okay. Do you have anything else?
We have this cute farming sim coming out 2023.
Thank you.
Ah, good.
Guns, gore. No! All right. Well, let's crack on. There was a Capcom showcase. Capcom did their own showcase. And it was surprisingly good.
It was to the point, and it was really good, yeah.
It was. So I'm going to go through. I've got the bullet points. We'll go through them. Again, spoiler. There are unavoidable spoilers for Resident Evil Village in this summary. There are unavoidable spoilers for Resident Evil Village in the showcase. So yeah, just a heads up. If you don't want to be spoiled for Resident Evil Village, skip past this timestamp. Imagine someone who hasn't played any of these games is literally just skipping through, like, to each timestamp, and every time they get to it, it's me going, spoilers. Skip ahead.
Just like that guy's like, I just want to hear more talk about how society moved on from Game of Thrones.
Isn't this a Game of Thrones podcast?
Wait, they talk about video games in this too?
Wait, are they talking about video games? Holy shit! So the Capcom showcase, it started with the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak expansion, which is going to have a jungle region called Espinas and the monster Go Magala.
It
like
looks
Monster
brilliant.
Hunter.
Me too, honestly. Much. I finished it. I put way too many hours into that game. It was brilliant. And the expansion.
Did you enjoy those hours?
Oh, they were definitely worth it, yeah. A lot of good times with friends.
It wasn't way too many. It was just the right amount.
just the right amount. And I'm going to do the same again with Sunbreak.
Awesome.
Because it looks even bigger and more ambitious than Iceborne, to be honest. A lot more ambitious, arguably. Like, the several regions now, not just the one or two.
Sure.
And, wow, like, the jungle one really screams of, like, Monster Hunter, Unite and stuff. The PSP game, which had the jungle biome in that too.
Nice.
So it looks really exciting. The new creatures, the returning creatures, perfect. Honestly, it's going to be brilliant. And that's out in like a week and a half.
Yeah, like not long. Yeah, I'm I'm doing this with Splatoon this year. But the next Monster Hunter that comes out is I'm going to like dedicate myself to playing it, because I played World for like 20-30 hours and loved it, and I played Rise for like a bit, and really liked that as well. But it's like I need to like just dedicate myself to like falling completely in with the Monster Hunter game.
Oh, I can help with that for sure.
I'm sure you can.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've spent thousands of hours on Monster Hunter games.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The next trailer was a game I'm probably not going to spend thousands of hours in, which was a trailer for Exoprimal, where we got to see some gameplay of the co-op PvP/PvE dinosaur horde sci-fi mech shooter thing.
Yeah.
How do you think? Yeah, it seems like it's like a character-based multiplayer game.
Yeah, it kind of feels like crowd control. I mean, it looks good, but in a world where people are screaming for a new Dino Crisis, I don't think another Dino-based IP is what people are really screaming for from Capcom right now.
Yeah, Moody is one of those people who's like desperate for a Dino Crisis remake, sequel, whatever. And like yeah, when this happened at the State of Play a few months ago, I wasn't impressed.
Oh, I can imagine. I honestly, after Resident Evil Code Veronica gets a remake after 4, which is probably the thing that Resi 3 team's working on, I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance because Capcom have been asking lately in surveys and stuff which classic IPs that people would like to see. So
True.
Hopefully people make a lot of noise about that, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'll get Moody to like make 1,000 email addresses and just fill in the survey like Dino Crisis.
He's probably already on with
Dino Crisis. He probably is. Yeah, he probably doesn't need me to like remind him. The big focus of the showcase is obviously Resident Evil. Where are we? So there's Resident Evil Village DLC. There's like 3 main parts to it. So the first part was the story DLC, which is called Shadows of Rose, in which you play as Rose in the third person. They're also adding additional quests for mercenaries, and the ability to play new characters, including Lady Dumitrescu. And then I wrote, "Well played, Capcom," in the notes.
Yeah, very well played,
well
played.
Capcom. And then there's also going to be a third-person mode for the main game.
Which is kind of cool for those that really enjoyed 2 and 3's gameplay over 7 and 8's.
Yeah.
And the expansion, that like sequel DLC that they're doing, seems like such a great idea to not drag out this Ethan Winters storyline.
Yeah.
So I was worried that 9 would just be his daughter for an entire game in first person doing another thing. But it's nice they'll be able to do a fresh start after this if they want to.
Yeah. In the trailer for the story DLC, they were talking about how it had been 16 years. Which fucked one of my like thoughts about Village's ending, which was like, oh, like what if like Rose, because everyone's like talking about how it's a massive time skip. What are we gonna do with all the characters like from Resident Evil? And it's like, well, the remake timeline seems to be serving those characters. But I did wonder like, oh, what if because like Rose is like a mold baby, she just like grew up within like a year or something. But apparently that's not what happened.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting though, because that means that a lot of the main cast at this point will really be getting on in
Oh,
age.
definitely, yeah.
You know,
Like,
we're going to see a geriatric Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 9.
he'll still somehow be doing Call of Duty. Excuse me,
He'll
but
still be like grabbing them and
yeah,
throwing them a mile
yeah.
away.
But I don't know, like it's got interesting implications. Like DLCs, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it looks interesting. I'll probably give it a shot because I've literally played everything else Resident Evil. Um, but like I don't know, like the implications for like what could Resident Evil 9 be is like Israel is going to be like the main Resident Evil character, or like are they going to go back to like old man Barry, like for Resident Evil 9? Like,
Ooh,
what's going to happen?
actually, give me like late 50s Barry. You know what I mean? That could be cool. Like in 16 years, they could have started rebuilding a new Raccoon City as well at that point. Ooh, there's tons they could do. Tons. They could even go back to zombies if they wanted to.
That would be cool. That would be interesting. They just do another Spencer Mansion.
Oh, I honestly, I would love them to tackle another big building style thing. Like the castle in Village was woefully underused.
Very
It
much.
could
Yeah.
it should have been the whole game. I think we've talked about
We
that,
did, yeah.
but yeah, it should have been a full game in and of itself. But they could absolutely do another large, you know, like a manor or something for sure. It's been long enough since the last one.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where they
Hmm.
want to go with it. Like, it's always been difficult to like figure out where they're going with Resident Evil. Like
Oh yeah,
the main
yeah.
games, because like every game seems to be like radically different from every game that came before it.
They like to reinvent themselves with the series, which is one of the reasons why I think 2 and 3 did so well, just because they revolutionized the series in different directions with 7, and obviously they were making it at the time, and it kind of gave them the feedback for the kind of horror and experience that would fit in a more Resident Evil 4 style, you know, presentation of horror, which, you know, the over the shoulder camera and all this stuff.
True, true,
So it was
true.
cool they managed to like cherry pick from their favorite elements of the series and then, you know,
Yeah, because you got
build 2 and 3.
a lot of different like things that you can like build on, or from your history.
Mm, yeah, and it's exciting to know that 9 could do that all over again. Wouldn't even surprise me if 9's third person, considering that 8's
Yeah,
getting a third person mode, 2 sold really, really well, and 3 did quite well.
that seems to be the direction that they're wanting to go in. Like with like adding a third person mode to Resident Evil Village, and like the DLC is in third person. It seems like they want to go to
Mm-hmm.
third person.
Yeah, I think you gotta there's like a trade-off, isn't there? In like first person it's a lot more intimate, it's a lot more personal. You feel like you're controlling the character in a very, very direct way. But in but you kind of miss out on the expression and response of the character that you're playing as, because you can't see them, you can only see through their eyes. But with like say Resident Evil 2 and stuff, you get to see the character's expressions, and you get to see, you know, you get to see the character themselves be presented in a way that's deeper and, you know, not as much relatable, but definitely more as a character.
Yeah,
You know, I'm repeating myself a little, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, you get to build a character rather than just expose a player to an environment and story.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So all of
yeah.
that launches on October 28th, along with REverse.
Mm-hmm.
Remember REverse?
Nope, I do not. I
And
know that there were just random characters running around arenas.
sure. So in the spirit of that, we'll just skip it. The
We'll skip it, yeah.
Yeah, we got the first look at Resident Evil 4 Remake gameplay, which is launching on March
Oh.
24th, 2023 on PC and current gen consoles only.
Mm-hmm. Which is good, because I feel like limiting new games to old hardware.
Yeah.
All you can really do at that point is improve graphics. There's not a lot you can do gameplay wise that
Well,
wasn't achievable
especially with these new
already.
consoles, like they've got the solid state drives. The PS5 has the DualSense. There's like a difference to like the things that you can do on the new
Mm-hmm.
gen consoles, the current gen consoles. So
Oh.
I agree with that. We did a lot of speculating about what Resident Evil 4 remake would be, like
Oh, really?
the last time you were here,
Mm-hmm.
because we just seen the state of play.
Yeah, we had.
Do you have any like additional thoughts?
No, it just kind of confirmed what we were already thinking, even though we only saw like 6 seconds of gameplay and an extended version of a trailer. It's just going to be a grittier, more Resident Evil 2 take on Resident Evil 4, which I think is perfect. It doesn't replace the original, which is almost timeless. It just gives you another way to experience that chapter of Resident Evil, which I think is perfect.
Yeah, I agree. It's like how do you top that? How do you top Resident Evil 4? You don't even try. It's a
You
fool's
don't,
errand.
yeah. Exactly. Especially with modern graphics, you can't really pull off the cheesy B horror movie kind of vibe that you could back then. So I feel like if it was done today, it would feel almost, cartoonish.
Yeah, like I get what they're
It's
going
good.
for with like the game's going to be set at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like Resident Evil 4 like for like that sense of progression of the daytime, right? Like it goes from day to night as you progress through the game. And I will miss
Mm-hmm.
that a little bit. But
Yeah, but the horror element's going to be stronger from the get-go, which I think's good.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
I do need Leon one line from the original in remake, which is just where's everybody go? Bingo. I need that line in the new game
We
somewhere.
do, yeah. Mm-hmm. I get the feeling, though, the whole Resident Evil 2 Mr. X kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
What if the boss of the village, the big guy with the beard and the trench coat,
Sure.
what if he's the one following you around after you meet him in his own little house? Because you meet him in his house, don't you? And he picks you up and he's like, you're one of us.
Yeah.
But don't get too cocky, blah, blah, blah. I get the feeling that after that moment in the game, he could follow you around the village and all this other stuff until you kill him in the barn, like the original game. Spoilers. But yeah, I
Spoilers,
reckon that
you
would be
fight a
really
boss and
cool.
kill them.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
You win a boss fight. Go figure. Maybe I don't know. Like the thing about Resident Evil 4 is it wasn't like 2 and 3 were like locations that expanded outwards as you like made more discoveries. 4, the original 4 wasn't that. Like it's not like you got to the village
to some degree.
and you explored the village. It was very much level based, like in its structure.
Somewhat, yeah, but you do return to the village segment more than once. Like
You do, yeah. You go back at one point.
Yeah, you go in a loop basically, and if they made that loop, the loop where the guy follows, it could be a cool little twist. But we'll have to wait and see because also there's the giant creatures. Oh my god, we get to see the the little dude's henchman, the I can't remember the name, but Vertigo's.
Just the little dude, to be honest.
Yeah, the little dude's gonna be great in it, I'm sure. But no, he has these creatures called Vertigo, and getting to see them is gonna be incredible because they were terrifying in the first game with the nitrous oxide and having to shoot them and stuff.
Well, there's all sorts. Yeah. Yeah, the one that followed you around and that was the boss fight. And like the statue that comes to life and tries to kill you is going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to reinvent some things.
The
I don't think
level.
you could get away with some of that stuff. The minecart.
The minecart ride.
There's loads of stuff they're going to have to do to make it less cheesy. Like I can imagine, Leon gets to the end of the minecart section, instead of grabbing hold of a ledge and stuff and leaping like a superhero, it'll probably just end up like jumping out the cart, rolling across the ground.
Or it'll just crash and you'll be like, oh man, that hurt,
Look, oh man, I didn't collect the N token from the Donkey Kong level. We'll have to wait and see.
I think there's going to be some stuff that they're just going to have to not have, like, in the game. Because if they want to keep a certain tone, like, you can't have you can't have a moment where a statue comes to life and starts chasing you through the castle.
I think they could do that. I think they could still pull that off. For sure. They'd have to do it right. Like, make it a giant clockwork robot and stuff, make it walk more like a puppet almost. You could still pull that off in a realistic way. Would be a little cheesy, but I don't think you can really fully avoid that with 4. But no, they're probably going to expand on things. I heard that like they wanted to expand on the village and make that a bigger part of the game too. So
That makes
we'll have to wait
sense
and see.
because the village was the strongest part of the game, so that does
Yeah,
make a lot of sense.
yeah. There's definitely going to be some changes to the structure, the military section of the game. I don't know what they're going to do for that. The island. Oh no.
That is not a great. The boss fight, you know, like the QT boss fight with the knives.
Oh, Krauser.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna have to
I
change.
hated that.
At least to some degree. I reckon Krauser might get a bit more story, like through notes and things, to fill him out a little more, because it was weird how he was just a dude in a berry that,
Yeah, I always
you know,
thought
was
I'd
weird.
missed something, like with Krauser, because he clearly knew Leon. And I was
Yeah.
like, have I missed a game? Like when I was playing it, like for the first time and stuff, or like the 5th time, like back in the day, and I was just like, if I missed a Resident Evil game that explains how these two like know each other.
Apparently there was a comic or something that came out later that filled in his story with Leon, but they definitely could flesh that out better.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna play as Ada during the gameplay or something. That wouldn't
that
surprise
makes
me.
sense. Yeah, they've
But
already got a
I'm
character
sure,
model for her and everything, so
yeah, they'll do more with her, I
maybe
think.
they'll do.
But
Maybe
it's gonna
they'll
be
put
cool.
like, maybe they'll integrate like the you know the post campaign part where you could play as Ada. Maybe they'll just
Ooh, that
integrate
could
that
be
into
good.
into the actual main gameplay.
Yeah, they did that with 2, so it wouldn't surprise me to do it again. There's some things that are gonna be wild. They're like that creature that you fight on those like suspended shipping crates and stuff.
That was always a
Um,
tense one.
yeah, there's
The
a lot of scenes that are gonna be wild,
the regenerators were
but
always like
that oh my god, they need to nail that right, because in the original that was like probably the scariest part of the game.
that was the
Just
scary
hearing them
part of the
breathe.
game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the first time you see it and you
Oh,
shoot it a couple of times and like it just like regrows all of its limbs and you're just like, what do I do?
yeah, it's going to be good. The merchant as well. How are they going to approach the merchant? Is it going to be the same kind of inventory system? Because I hope it is.
Stranger,
And
stranger.
yeah, got something that might interest you.
Is it a rocket launcher?
Oh no, they're probably going to add silly weapons as things that you can get like
Definitely.
much later in the game. Yeah. It's going to be good. Ashley sections might be bigger too, because you did players at one point.
As long as
They'll probably divulge into that.
better.
Yeah, that's good. I think honestly, I think it's going to be, it's going to be brilliant. I don't think they can fail, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a few more bits and bobs. There's a next gen update for Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3, which was launched alongside the showcase. All the fancy graphics and whatnot. Although interestingly, they did have to allow PC players to like use the previous versions of the game.
Yeah,
because
they've
people's
made
PCs
the
couldn't
download
run.
mandatory at first.
Yeah, because it was mandatory, and a lot of people's PCs couldn't like run the games anymore, so they had to.
Yeah, I heard that the biggest pushback from that was actually the modding community.
That also
Because when
makes
they
sense.
did the updated game, the mods didn't work on the updated version, so they made it optional, which is really good. It's really good.
It's good
Gives
for like
people
mods
choice.
and stuff. Yeah, I mean, as somebody who does randomized Resident Evil 1 stuff, like I appreciate that. Not mix. I mean, I play.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention Street Fighter 16, which was also at the showcase. Street Fighter 6. Why did I say 16? Street Fighter 6. You know.
Final Fantasy 16. You still think?
Yeah, it's on the brain
still. Thinking about Final Fantasy. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, sorry. Like my brain glosses over fighting games, but like I forget that like not everybody's me and people like them.
Some people do, yeah. Yeah, it looks decent. It looks heavy. And the big world thing that they're doing, yeah, it looks like it could be more substantial than the last 2 Street Fighters were at launch.
Yeah, so. I do know all the discourse about Street Fighter 5 and how that launched. So
it was terrible.
It was apparently.
It ended up being good in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I even love how there's unique taunts now for each character. So like each character has unique taunts based on who they're fighting.
Sure.
Like one of the new characters is like Hadouken, Hadouken to Ryu, which was kind of charming.
I mean,
But
that's pretty
yeah,
funny. I like, and even I
hmm
understand that reference.
it
So that's good.
looks really good. Hmm
Um,
Yeah,
cool. That's awesome. Maybe I'll actually
yeah.
try it. You never know.
It might be the best fighting game you've ever played that's not Smash Bros.
Bushido Blade is my favorite fighting game of all time.
Which one?
Bushido Blade. It was on the original PlayStation.
Oh, I remember that actually.
I
I
enjoyed
didn't
that one.
like it. Sorry.
That's fine. It's not really a fight. It's not really a fighting game like Street Fighter or anything like that. That's probably why I liked it.
Mm, yeah. It's a little more like Samurai Showdown, if I remember
Yeah, pretty
correctly.
much. Like you hit someone in the arm and they can't use their arm anymore. You hit someone in the head and they die instantly. That's my kind of fighting
Yeah,
game. Tense,
I
like you've
like.
got to wait for an opening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why Samurai Showdown's kind of like that too. Obviously, like Samurai, it's like okay, one good hit and that can be it. Obviously, the fighting game itself is a little more complicated than that, but yeah, it's a lot more suspenseful than
Mm-hmm,
most fighting
mm-hmm,
games. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it's good. They're really good games, and a lot of them arcade games are available on consoles for dirt cheap, so they're worth checking out.
True. Excuse me. Okay, so what else we got? Capcom put out a survey following the showcase to ask, among other things, whether participants would watch, quote, a future Capcom digital event like Capcom Showcase, end quote. If it's like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. If it's like what we just
Absolutely.
got.
Yeah. I want more companies to do Nintendo Direct style things where it's every few months rather than just one a year.
Yeah.
Even if it's just updates on old games with a couple new little announcements or stuff
Well,
like
I
that
mean,
would be
yeah, like
great.
Final Fantasy VII's anniversary stream event was 10 minutes long. And that's
Mm-hmm.
cool because, like, I feel like if, like, EA had been in charge of that, it would have been an hour long
Oh
somehow.
yeah, and it would have been padded to
And it
hell
would have been
and
padded
shown off nothing really.
just to get to, and then it's like, and then like that, what was it, like a minute and a half of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth footage would have been like so diluted. It would have been like, well, I mean, it was good, but fucking Jesus Christ, like the other 58 minutes is what I'm remembering
Mm-hmm.
because it was 58 minutes. Like, I do
Yeah,
like the fact that they
exactly.
do it like however long it needed to be, not necessarily just going, we have to hit an arbitrary time limit.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. I reckon that could be a really good way for companies to handle things between E3 or slash not E3s.
Just wait until you've got like stuff to say and then say it.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah.
E3, but like, yeah, let's just do that. What if we just normalize that?
Yeah, I mean Nintendo even just dropped brand new game announcements on Twitter and stuff sometimes, like Paper Mario the Origami King.
I
That was
remember
shown
that.
off
Yeah,
on Twitter just randomly and it turned out to be an amazing game that was out a few months after the announcement, so it can be done,
it can be
you
done.
know?
All right, we got.
Mhm.
We've also got in a separate live stream to celebrate Dragon's Dogma's 10th anniversary. Capcom announced that Dragon's Dogma 2 is in development. The game is being made on the RE engine and is being directed by original game director Hideaki Itsuno.
That's gonna be special. Especially if they take into like all these years of improvements that games have gone through as an industry and put that into Dragon's Dogma, which already feels like a game that's ahead of its time.
I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that's gonna benefit Dragon's Dogma 2 a lot. Like it it was ahead of its time in a way that didn't necessarily help it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
feel like but I feel like that's gonna put it in good stead, um, for the
Oh
sequel.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And loads of people that I know ended up being introduced to the game when it released on modern consoles. Most of the Switch. Excuse me.
I mean, that
Yeah,
happened a
it
lot,
seemed.
yeah, with Wii, especially with like Wii U games as well, where it's just like they re-released on
Mm-hmm.
Switch and then people like finally played them.
Yeah, like Mario Kart 8.
Yeah,
That
right.
game is set to be one of the best-selling games Nintendo's ever had. if you don't count Wii Sports, which was
Yeah, it
bundled
was
with every
bundled, wasn't
console
it?
in the West. Yeah. But yeah, it's done really well. Like clearly, like having the right platform helps the game find the right audience. And
Absolutely.
now that games like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, all these games that are high fantasy but also have that grit to them. And not just that, but also our favorite topic, Game of Thrones. Like people are more open to fantasy and trying these kinds of games out. So, and the team that were talking about how they designed Dragon's Dogma 1 clearly like knew what they were doing. Like they're very insightful, very smart, very well tuned to. Like they were talking about giant enemies, how in most games there'll be a giant enemy and you'll just be attacking its feet,
Feet.
and
Yep.
it's still true today. So like they're onto something, I think. If they can make something that feels like Elden Ring, but then you can scale the monsters and fight them that way and do other stuff. Oh, it's gonna be amazing.
Elden Ring, but it's also Shadow of the Colossus.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a dream game,
That does
actually,
sound like
doesn't
a
it?
dream game.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Yeah,
on,
I'm very much looking forward to that.
get on with making that one, Tori.
Maybe
um,
later.
maybe later. Yeah, maybe like a few years from now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I thought we could do a fun, quick little section of the podcast because we talked about a lot of games last week. Me and Moody did, coming out of
Mm-hmm.
all of the showcases and stuff. But I thought we could do just a quick thing of our top 5 favorite games from not E3 2022.
Okay. Sounds
And
good to me.
luckily, I didn't spring it on you.
Not at all. You
No,
didn't. You
I
gave me
yeah,
some heads
I
up.
gave you as much heads up as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm. It was plenty.
um, so would you like as the guest? Would you like to say do your first one first?
Okay, so my first one was actually well, many of these are ones we've talked about actually, but the first one was Resident Evil 4 remake. Like,
Sure.
come on, like it's gonna be more of Resident Evil 2 and 4 combined. It just sounds like a perfect recipe for an amazing horror game that finishes off this beautiful trilogy of the Callisto Protocol, Dead Space, and then Resident Evil 4. So yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
it's the
amazing.
cherry on top. Right.
It's like the delicious, beautiful cherry on top of a wonderful horror cake that looks like guts and gore, but actually just tastes like vanilla.
That's an amazing
Very
analogy.
excited.
I'm gonna transcribe that after the podcast, and I'm gonna use that.
Feel free.
So my first one, and this is after this wasn't like one of my top 5 like after watching the showcases, but then I played the demo.
Hey,
And
that's a
now
good
it
way to get
is.
new insight.
Yeah, so it's Metal Hellsinger. Like it's Doom, but to the beat of the music.
Oh, I saw that. That looked brilliant.
So
The concept's brilliant.
so I played a level of it as part of Steam Next Fest, and I don't want to labor too much on it because there is a video on the channel where I talk about it, playing the demo, but like it's so fucking cool. Like you're jumping around, you're killing demons, and there's just this fucking heavy metal going, and like if you attack to the beat, you do way more damage, and you can only
Mm-hmm.
do like your special moves and stuff to the beat. But if you build it's like a fury meter, so the better you do, and the more your meter builds up. And if you build your fury meter all the way up to like maximum, the lyrics kick in.
Oh, that's a beautiful little twist. Also, the actual artists. I'm not much of a metalhead, but the actual artists and stuff that are involved are like very high profile. I reckon
Yeah.
people who love metal music are in for an absolute treat.
It's
I
a
really
really,
do.
really solid game as well. Like a lot of fun.
I might check that out when it comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from based on the water level and the trailer that I saw. Yep.
That's gonna be awesome.
What was your second one?
Oh, my second one. So the second one was just the wholesome direct in general. It was really difficult to just narrow that down because
That's
there was
fair.
more games than I've listed, but Lonesome Village looked like a really cool combat-free Zelda-like village sim.
Played the demo of that
For
Steam Next Fest. It's awesome.
it really, ooh, there was like a Frog's Tale, which is like another Zelda-like game. Really
Yes.
cute art style.
There were a lot of
Reminded me of
frogs.
the Game Boy Zeldas. There was. Snufkin looked really good and really
Mm-hmm.
authentic to Moomin's actual art style, which I thought was beautiful. There was Frogun, which I've been following on Twitter for the longest time. So seeing that there was great. It's really like Nintendo 64 action platformer kind of game. And Mail Time, another game that I was watching for a while. Just looks really cute and calm. My mum saw that and she was like, "Oh, it looks wonderful. I might play that." And I think the last one was just Ooblets. Like that game
Ooblets.
is finally getting a full release, and it looks incredibly charming, super super cute. All the little creatures that do little dance battles and stuff. It looks brilliant. I can't wait for that to come out.
So
Yeah.
I've never played Ooblets, but I've had it installed on my PC
hmm
for over a year waiting for them to announce the release date.
Oh no. No way. Oh, there was one more, by the way. A game called
Sure.
Nico. Looked really cute. I love the art style. It's very much like Demon's Turf, if you've seen that
I
before.
have, yeah,
Which is
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot like that, but a cutesy version. I don't want to give the guys who are making Nico, girls, who are making Nico, not enough credit, but it gives off the same vibes as Demon Turf, and I think it looks really promising.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was your second choice?
Demon School.
Oh, tell me more.
So this was at the PC Gaming Show, so we didn't actually get to mention it last week because we recorded it at the same time as the PC Gaming Show, so I had to watch it afterwards. It's a
Oh.
tactics RPG. There's a lot going on with it. Like it's set at a school, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and like the combat style, it's like a grid-based tactics game, but the combat is based on like
Hmm.
motion as opposed to like selecting like moves to do. So like you move a
Hmm.
character through an enemy, and that'll do damage to them. Like their movement, like they'll damage like all of the enemies and that you move them through. And it's like you can
Oh.
combine, like, you can do like combos and stuff by like combining like different characters, like going through like different enemies and whatnot.
That sounds
Um,
good. Kind of like Fire Emblem if you had like a piercing style movement system
yeah,
in
yeah,
a
kind
way.
of, yeah. But there's loads of cool stuff. There's like social links, like in Persona, like the like time management system. Like it's like
Hmm.
splitting in like days and weeks and stuff, and you decide what you do, and it's a lot. It's like very Persona 5. Um, and also
Sounds really good.
and I don't know if I'm getting this the right way around or not, but if the world is 2D, the demons are invading from another realm where it's 3D. So the
Huh.
demons that are invading are three-dimensional creatures invading a two-dimensional world. I
Wow.
was reading an interview about it. It sounded dope.
Sounds really ambitious and interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was gutted that I missed the announcement. Basically, um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to
Does
see what
sound
else.
good though.
Yeah, it does.
Hmm.
It sounds like my exactly like my kind of game. So you know.
That's really good. Another one for me to check out for sure.
I mean, I
Hmm.
have that effect on people.
That is a good effect to have on people for sure.
What's your third one?
Okay, so my third one was The Last of Us Part 1, which has been
Nice.
quite divisive from what I've seen.
Um, yeah, I've
Hmm.
seen that. Like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
looks beautiful. Like Last of Us Part 1 was an amazing game anyway, and they're rebuilding it from the ground up.
sure,
It uses the same voice acting as the original, which
sure.
the delivery was masterful. It didn't need to be re-recorded. And what they've done is, other than redoing the characters to look much, much better, especially if you look at like Tess, for example, she
Yes,
looks her age now. She looks like
yeah,
she's in her 40s and not 20,
yeah,
which people have complained about because she's not as quote unquote hot anymore.
yeah. Well,
Um,
gamers.
well, yeah.
They're complaining about
Um,
April O'Neil because in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, she doesn't have like cleavage. Like she's zipped her jacket up a bit, and I
it might
saw
have been
people
cold
complaining
out.
about it. Exactly. Like, go be comfortable while you're
They
beating
don't
up
know.
Shredder's henchman.
Exactly. But yeah, Last of Us Part 1 looks amazing. They actually recorded, because Naughty Dog have this process where they don't like to use mocap for a facial animation. They manually do it frame by frame because they find they get better results that way. And so Last of Us Part 1 is using the same recorded reference material to redo the facial animations in Part 1. And obviously, like with games like that, delivery is very important. So for people who didn't play Last of Us 1, they're in for an even better treat. And for those who played it, you're just going to get a richer experience. I don't see the problem
Yeah,
myself.
that's true. Like,
But I personally think it looks amazing.
oh yeah, it looks incredible. Like, I mean, I'll say the same thing I said about it last week, which is one, it sucks that it got leaked right before the showcase, because that would have been a cool
Yeah,
moment to
it really
experience.
would.
But like, two, it's like yeah, I'll sit here and go, I don't know why they're remaking this again because you can play it on current consoles anyway. But like I said to Moody last week, do I care enough to be mad? No. Like,
No, like you can still play the original for cheaper if you don't think the upgrade's worth it. But for people who love Last of Us, it's going to be
it's gonna be
just
amazing.
that same experience, but deeper with better gameplay, much better cinematics, and the visuals are just going to look even more outstanding. They looked gorgeous on the
They
PS3. The
did.
PS4 version looked like a PS4 game, even though they'd only touched it up a little. And it's only going to get better. So
Absolutely. Like, I'm looking forward to
yeah,
seeing like people talking about it when it comes out.
yeah, especially with the new show coming out, it's going to
Yeah.
be good to see so many new people explore the devastating, gut wrenching story of Last of Us for the first time.
Yep. Have fun with that, everybody who has never played or The Last of Us before.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, wonderful, horribly but beautifully emotional
Yeah,
story.
it is.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
one of the best in video games in the modern era from that style.
and
Western
as
storytelling.
far as like horrible and emotional in part two, turns it up to 11 and breaks the fucking knob off.
Oh yeah,
Oh
that's what
man,
makes the game so special.
I remember I reviewed that game. I reviewed that game with Moody, and
Mm.
something had happened that delayed me like finishing it. So Moody had it finished for about a week when he sat down to review it, and I had literally
Mhm.
just managed to roll credits on it 3 hours before we sat down to record the review. So you can imagine like what I was trying to process while I was like, I got to review the game, but I'm still processing it.
Yeah. Gosh, it was brilliant, and part two was also brilliant. They're both worth playing.
Definitely,
Um.
definitely.
Mhm. And what was
Uh,
your third option, by the way?
so my third game is Nightingale. Um, it's a game I already knew
Nightingale.
existed because I think it was at last E3. Um, and like, so it's an open world. Right, this is gonna sound like I'm on drugs. I've lost my mind. It's an open world survival crafting game with like a shared world, so you can play it like single player or you can play it with other people.
Mhm.
Which is like all of those things are like any one of those things individually would mean that people wouldn't recommend the game to me.
Right, of course, and it's
Um,
a very well tread genre at the moment too.
because I'm just like people are trying to get me to play like Valheim or whatever. I'm just not interested. Um,
Mhm.
but like I watched the trailer thing where the developer was talking about the game, and I read an interview with Aaron Flynn because this is by ex Bioware developers. Um,
Right.
and I was like, you know what? You've actually got me interested in a game that I would not normally ordinarily be interested in. So fair play. The
Mhm.
main thing is centered around how you explore the world. So like you set up a base or like a home, and you build a home and you get supplies and stuff to build it. But like you explore by like you get these cards and then you combine them, and then you use them to like explore different realms. And like the different cards that
Ooh.
you explore will affect like the biome and the resources and the creatures that spawn because you go through like a portal.
Mhm.
And I was like, this sounds like because it's like Gaslamp fantasy. That's like the setting. This kind of sounds like a
Right.
Gaslamp fantasy version of No Man's Sky.
Ooh. Ooh.
but with like
Okay.
because it's from ex BioWare developers, they're talking about like making it a stronger like narrative like focused over like grinding focus. So there'll be
Mm-hmm.
like story beats and like characters who'll have like storylines and stuff. So it's just like I went from oh Nightingale, yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not really that interested to I'm gonna keep an eye on this. And so while
Mm-hmm.
Nightingale isn't one of like it's nowhere near like my favorite of the games that I saw at E3. Like I get like it's one of my top 5 reveals, like favorite reveals, because it got me interested in a game that I would have otherwise just been like, nah, I'm alright.
Yeah, I mean that's totally deserving for them to, just the sheer surprise that something like that would appeal to you. That's really cool.
Yep, it's like it could be like Forza Horizon 5. It's like I don't my Forza Horizon. Sorry, it's like I don't like driving games, but I love Forza Horizon.
Mm-hmm. There's always a good exception to the rule when it comes to games like that.
Definitely, you just got to find
It's
it.
good. That's the magic of games. Mm-hmm. You do.
What's your fourth one?
So my fourth one
You've
is
had four.
actually Dragon's Dogma 2. We went over why for the
We
most
did.
part before, but I just think, especially after playing Elden Ring, I'm so ready for another big Western fantasy RPG for sure. I mean, obviously, Elden Ring's Japanese, but I just, I miss the Elder Scrolls games, Dragon Age games. The first Dragon Age game for me personally, but I
Me
just want
too.
another game
Me
that
too.
catches me the same way that Dragon Age Origins did, that Skyrim and Oblivion did. And I'm thinking that might be the one. So I'm really
That's
excited for it.
that's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Dragon
And
Age
again,
Origins
another
caught me out of
Japanese
nowhere.
developer as well. Pardon?
Dragon Age Origins caught me by complete surprise.
Me too. I ended up doing all the DLC and everything for it.
Me too. I bought it on Xbox because if you bought it, you got the Blood Dragon armor that you could use in Mass Effect 2, which came out a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was literally buying it because Mass Effect was like one of my favorite games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I played it and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Honestly, I think for me, I gave it a try because it was a BioWare game. After Mass Effect 1, I was like, yeah, whatever these guys make.
That's fair.
Like,
That's
they
fair.
got one of those free passes. Some developers just
Some
have that free
developers just have a
pass.
free pass. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like Bethesda used to have it until
I tried
Fallout
to
4
explain
came
this
out.
concept to Moody. Like, some developers just get a free pass, like we were talking about Redfall last week. And he was
Hmm.
like, oh, it just looks like a generic shooter. And I was like, but it's being made by Arcane. As far as I'm concerned, they
Hmm.
get a free pass.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be like this Rare Games free
Yeah, yeah,
pass. You
definitely.
make a Rare, if Rare making a game, I'm gonna buy it. Nintendo have had a free pass since the 90s for me. Um, so yeah, some games, some companies get a free pass. That's one of them for me.
Definitely. I'm writing this down
um,
for like a future topic potential.
yeah, no problem. So yeah, I think it was your turn for the
It
next
was,
one.
I'm just going to say the Plucky Squire.
Oh my god. Honestly, this is the one I wish would have been on my list. Because that game looks. At first, I was like, huh, 2D platformer set on a book.
Right?
That's a really neat
That's cute.
idea. Yeah, then the punch out bit, I'm like, that's really fun. I like how they did that. The animation's incredible. And then the 3D blew my mind. Seeing them walk around a can, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was watching it live. I wasn't on Twitch, which is a shame because I feel like that moment alone would have been cool. But like,
Yeah.
how do you react to a Devolver Digital like showcase? Like,
I honestly, I'll be really honest with you. I usually love their little like showcases, but I learned about the Plucky Squire through Twitter.
okay, like yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
actually didn't watch the Devolver one. I probably will because I actually think they're
I mean, I
amazing and
like them and stuff.
incredibly
It's just
weird.
like you just watch it. It's not like a reacting thing too. But yeah, so the Plucky
Mm-hmm.
Squire happened, um, and I lost my mind. At
Mm-hmm.
the same point you did, when
Oh
the
yeah.
when the jump out of the book and it's in 3D all of a sudden, I had the exact same thought process as you did, where I was like, "This is pretty cute. Like this is my kind of thing." Oh, what the fuck!
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh yeah.
and like so many people like on my Twitter just went ape shit for like 5-10 minutes. Like Carl Stevenson from PlayStation Trophy Room, was just like
Mm-hmm.
mind blown, and I was like, "Yep."
This imagine what AAA could do if they applied themselves with the same level of ingenuity that these developers are doing.
Yep.
Like it blows my mind that they're wasting their potential. I'm not saying AAA games aren't good because
Sure. Sure.
they're high quality products, but sometimes they just feel like products. And I want something that feels like a sense of expression. And yeah, the Plucky Squire really felt like just that was a passion project through and through,
Yep.
all the way. Beautiful looking game,
Yep.
original. Yep, I'm incredible. That's a day one for me for sure.
Yep. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like somebody wanted to make this. Somebody wanted to make this game
Mm-hmm.
like
They wanted to
exactly
make it
like
so much
this.
that they went through all these. It must have been so difficult as well to develop.
Oh,
Like going
absolutely.
from like 2D, which is already like it's not the easiest thing to do.
Sure.
To then and to do it so well because it looked like it played very well. It's not
Did.
just the gimmick that's cool. The gameplay looks tight. When the characters escape the pages, you know what I mean. I was like,
Sure. Sure.
how did they even pull this off? And then to have them constantly, it's very much like Link Between Worlds with the
Yeah.
whole wall merging 2D 3D gameplay, but it's done in such an original way, and yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. Probably one of the best games of this entire period, really.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably my favorite overall game
Mm-hmm.
reveal.
Yeah, and it came out
Definitely.
of nowhere too. Yeah.
Well, yeah. No one had heard of it before. It wasn't like it just. It was all of a sudden. It was just like, here's this game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly.
Here's your next favorite game. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Here's your 2023 Game of the Year contender. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It'll win awards for sure. That
I
game
hope
will win
so.
awards. Yeah.
2023 is going to be packed.
Nintendo are gonna have a heavy 2023 with the sounds of it too.
What's
So,
your final one?
ooh, no surprise to anyone. Final
Nope.
Fantasy VII Rebirth. Of
Hell
course it
yeah.
was. Of course it was. Like they didn't show off much gameplay, but just knowing what I know about the first game and
Mm-hmm.
what that's gonna mean for the new game and all the statements that were made. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever been so excited for Final Fantasy
Fair.
in ever. And and nine's my favorite still. But
Nice.
yeah, there's something about this new trilogy that just has me awestruck.
It's because like we all had high expectations for part one, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like obliterated.
They were, and not often does that ever happen.
Exactly.
Ever. Like Breath of the Wild did it, but it did it in such a gentle way that you were just like in the bedroom or the living room, wherever you're playing the game, the toilet if you're on the Switch, just being like, wow, that's really cool. Wow, this is really cool. Oh wow. And then you're playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and you're just like, holy crap, what the hell, time to gush to my friends who don't play this game.
Exactly.
For hours.
Yep.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it had been delivered so perfectly, and it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like they're just as confident moving forwards, if not more so.
I hope. Like,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like, I've got no reason to doubt it at the moment. Like, based on everything I've
Mhm.
seen and heard.
Mhm. It's exciting to feel so confident that a game's gonna be incredible.
I know, right? It's nice. It's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Mhm. Yeah, it really, really is.
Um.
What's your fifth one?
So my fifth one. I went back and forward on this. I'm gonna
Mhm.
cheat and I'm gonna do two very quick shout outs before I do my last one.
Only if I get to do one.
Sure.
Okay.
Very quick shout outs. Number one, Hollow Knight Silksong being at the Xbox showcase so I could have a meltdown live on Twitch. Thanks for
Mhm.
that. And two, there was a game at Day of the Devs called Animal Well. That
Hmm.
looks unbelievably cool.
Wow. You'll
Um,
have to link me up with that later.
I will. In fact, I'm going to do it right now.
Hey.
Because I'll forget later. My actual fifth one is called As Dusk Falls, which was at the Xbox showcase and the Tribeca
Mm-hmm.
Spotlight. It was one of the selections, and it was at something else. So it's like a cool narrative driven game. Hold on, let me get the thing up because I don't want to butcher it.
I think I saw it, yeah, but please go
I
on.
think we talked about it as well a couple of weeks ago. So it's like it starts in 1998 with it's a robbery gone wrong, and then you make choices, and then like the game comes forward in time. So like you see the how the choices have affected the lives of all of the people who were there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, and I was already like excited and looking forward to it. And then three things really piqued my interest. One, it's got a very interesting art style, or like
Yeah.
more like an animation style, where it's not like smooth motion animation, if that makes sense. Like it's like your picture book almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
Um,
seen it. I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan. But it looks very well made. I will say that. I can imagine loads of people are gonna really like the look of it.
the second thing was it's coming to Game Pass day one. Um, which
Always good.
automatically like piques my interest. And the third one is it's got 8-player co-op.
Now that is interesting. That's like very, very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
because
can't think of another game that does that.
a narrative-driven game, choice-based game with like 8-player co-op. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
to know how that works.
Doesn't it do a Jackbox style thing where you can sync your phones up to the game and then it's almost like there's choices that can be made and each player has to tap the screen rapidly to make it decide which choice it is or something. I saw something like that about the game. It looked like it'd be a great game to play with like a bunch of people around. Pizza and
Sure.
drinks and all that
Oh,
jazz.
definitely.
So,
Like,
yeah.
however it works, I'm sure it'll be cool. But that was one of the
Mm,
reasons why. Um,
yeah.
it was like, oh shit, like not necessarily like the game which I'd already seen, but more just like the oh shit, like multiplayer in a narrative game. Like,
Hmm.
gimme, like this sounds awesome. Like, imagine playing like Until Dawn with multiplayer.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good idea. One second, I just need to cough.
Yeah, sure. But that's my five. You said you wanted a quick one as well.
I have a cheeky bonus one,
That's
and it's
fine.
only because it surprised me so much how much I like the look of it. It was Diablo 4.
Diablo 4 is your
Um,
nightingale.
Honestly, I really didn't expect to love the look of it as much as I did, but they mentioned it being an open world, which I thought was brilliant because as much as I love the chapter-based story and gameplay, an open world just sounds infinitely more interesting. The way that you do dungeons and stuff and towns and do things, like complete sections of the world and actually changes them to a different state where you can interact and build and things like that. Just looked really good. The visuals being like a dark gothic horror style, like the first two Diablo games, also really appealed to me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's day one Game Pass, just like Silk Song and just like loads of these other games that we've mentioned today.
Game Pass, what a concept.
I know, I know.
Speaking of Game Pass, though, let's move on our next story.
Mhm.
So there's going to be an ID at Xbox Summer Game Fest, which is going to bring 7 days of playable demos. So I'm not going to read the full story, but I'm going to summarize it. So starting on Tuesday, the 21st of June, and running until Monday, the 27th. Um, there's going to be like an ID at Xbox Summer Game Fest, which is going to have over 30 playable pre-release Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S demos. Microsoft has said to like keep them like it's like the show floor type stuff, so like the stuff you would see at like Next Fest or if you were at like EGX or E3 or something like that. There's not a
Mhm.
full list of demos that have been revealed, but the games that were in the announcement, like the image, like the header, I guess. It was Batora Lost Haven, in which a naive and reckless girl must use her physical and mental powers to save the Earth. Also, Broken Pieces, a psychological thriller set in a French coastal village located outside the flow of time. Single-player first-person shooter Severed Steel, and Tinykin, which sees players accruing hundreds of the titular creatures and using their unique powers to return protagonist Milo back to his home planet. And I believe I read somewhere that Steel Rising is also going to have a demo at the Xbox Game Fest, which is like you play as like a robot in like the French Revolution, which seems really
Wow.
interesting. It's got very heavy like Bloodborne vibes.
Ooh.
You
Ooh,
play
I love the
yeah
look of Tinykin,
you
by
play
the
like a
way.
mechanical. It's like a mechanical uprising in 1789, the
Mm,
French Revolution, and you play like like a mechanical person like trying to stop them.
I love it. It's very Pikmin vibes from what I've
hmm hmm
seen.
hmm So this is cool. This is gonna be really cool. Like I did a Next Fest video and I played 15 Next Fest demos. And then like
Mm.
put a video out just talking about like all the demos that I played, and I was like, cool, I'm done with that. And then I wash my hands of it, and then like I turn around and it's like Xbox is doing one with like 30 games, and I was like, all right, fair enough. And then the games that they've said that are gonna be there, are like, oh, none of these games are at Next Fest, so. And
Oh.
some of them, like, I really want to try Steel Rising because I'm just curious to know how good it's gonna be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna do it again next week. I'm gonna
Yeah,
spend
you
an
got your
entire day
homework
playing
set
demos.
there.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Oh god. It does sound good though.
mm. Like I did Xbox, like, and like the Xbox, like the indie games that Xbox are partnering up with in general, just are really fucking good.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Like they seem to really put in the work lately.
hmm
I can really respect that, especially with Game Pass already being so good.
Exactly. Like you think about the games that have come out in Game Pass, like Amori just came out, like completely like unannounced out of the blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like
Oh
looking at it
yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna have to buy this. Like, let's see how much it costs. And then I was like, it's a Game Pass. You don't even buy it. Oh, what?
Yeah. I got that twice in the space of 24 hours. I was like, wait, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is gonna be free?
Yep.
Okay. Then the day after Omari's out and it's free on Game Pass, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Literally, when I watch trailers and stuff for like for like Guillermo Games Fest and stuff. Like when the logos come up, I'm like looking out for like the Game Pass logo, like
Yeah, it's reached that point, hasn't it, really?
because
It's a good
I
time to be a
it
gamer.
definitely. I said a Moody about Game Pass in the past, where it's like I think like you could go like I could go as as a YouTube game reviewer, and I could probably go from January to December just playing games that release day one in Game Pass
Mm-hmm.
and have a
Honestly,
pretty
you
solid
could.
list.
Oh, absolutely. And there'll be games that most people can also jump on with too, because a lot of people have Game Pass these days.
hmm hmm
So
And it's only going to
it's a
get
really
better.
cool approach. Mm-hmm. It really is. Yeah.
Our
Yep.
last news story has nothing to do with Xbox though.
Mm-hmm.
Unannounced Fire Emblem game reportedly detailed online. This is from Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer, who writes,
Right.
Hmm?
No, I was just saying right.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to just jump right in, just be like, right. um,
I pull my sleeves up. Let's go.
Details of a new unannounced Fire Emblem game have leaked online. The project, an all-new Fire Emblem RPG in the works for Nintendo Switch, was discussed by Nintendo leaker Emily Rogers. Shortly after, screenshots purportedly showing an early version of the game were posted on Reddit. Eurogamer understands the project is real, and they've contacted Nintendo for more. The game is the work of a regular series developer, Intelligent Systems, and also Koei Tecmo's Gust Studio, according to Rogers. It was originally intended as, quote, an anniversary game, end quote, to celebrate Fire Emblem's 30th birthday, and has been, quote, finished, end quote, for some time. The game will feature a main character with, quote, strange red and blue hair, end quote, Rogers continued, and a new gimmick will allow you to summon Fire Emblem characters, quote, from the past, end quote. Similar details were then posted on Reddit, including screenshots of the game showing its protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw the leaked screenshots, and it does look early, but it does look legit.
Yeah, like
um,
there's only certain like I like know most rumors, um, for
Mm-hmm.
the podcast, but also just in life in general. But like there are certain outlets that I'll like if the rumor hits a certain place that I trust, I'll be like, okay, maybe I should take this seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that Gust are meant to be developing, at least co-developing, seemingly for the art, the art and graphics and stuff. Because that's the Atelier Sophie and the other games in
Yes.
that franchise. And those games are beautiful looking. The character models especially, but in general, very, very pretty games. So I think if they are handling the art, and it looks likely considering how much of a perfect fit they are. And
Definitely.
Koei Tecmo also helped with Three Houses.
True.
So he seems like a perfect fit. And it looks like it'll probably look much better than Three Houses, which was a great game but looked rough around the edges.
It did in terms of like how it looked, it did look a bit rough. It was still my game of the year that year. But the like I've had a hunch that like we're gonna get. I can't remember when I was talking about this on one podcast a while ago this year. Saying like I want like I was basically I've had a hunch that we might be getting a Fire Emblem game this year, like not the Fire Emblem Warriors that's coming out this Friday, but like a mainline Fire Emblem RPG. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just
I get the feeling what they'll be doing is they probably push the direct to the end of the month, so they could give Fire Emblem 3. What's it called?
Warriors.
It's not Three Houses.
Three
It's
Hopes.
Three Hopes. That's correct. Yeah. So I get the feeling they're pushing the direct back to give Three Hopes its release.
Makes sense.
And then they can be like, hey, we're doing expansion content for Three Hopes, and also, and then show off the new Fire Emblem.
Celebrating Fire Emblem's 30th anniversary.
Enjoy Fire Emblem something of the something coming out January next year after the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, that'd just be my luck, wouldn't it?
It'll be worth the wait.
Definitely.
I almost heard that they were doing a remake of Fire Emblem 4. The genealogy of something.
Yeah, I'd heard about
that. Would have been incredible. Because the Japanese audience apparently adore that game more than any other in the series. So, yeah, that would have been quite cool. But I'm more than happy with a brand new one. Apparently one of the gimmicks of this new Fire Emblem is that you can summon heroes from the previous entries to battle. So that sounds interesting as long as they don't go down the Fire Emblem Heroes route, the mobile game.
Sure.
And just base it on that whole gacha element of,
No, like I need the like for me it's like I need the like not just the tactics gameplay, I need the like the social and relationship stuff. Like we got in Three Houses as well.
Yeah, I worry that would be limited if it was based on characters from the past.
Exactly.
So either the whole character roster is characters from the past and you get to
like
meet them in the
broken
present.
and like you're all like in this like weird wonky timeline together.
That would be quite good, but very difficult to pull off in a believable way.
Absolutely.
But they could do it. They could pull it off.
Absolutely. The thing I loved about Fire Emblem Three Houses a lot. One of the things I loved about that game was like it's not just like you're trying to romance a character, right? It's like you can start like pushing the other characters together in like pairings that you wanted them to be.
Mm-hmm. You can
which
ship
I totally
them.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere on my hard drive, I've still got all the screenshots of like all of the pairings that like happened in my Fire Emblem game.
I love that.
I'll send them to you if I can find them.
I would love to see it.
There were some unconventional ones.
Honestly, I'll be real with you. I love those elements of Fire Emblem, especially like from like Awakening onwards. But I almost miss the story being told on the battlefield.
Sure.
Because now they feel like bits in between the story, and I feel like if the new Fire Emblem somehow manages to do what Three Houses did, whilst making the story take more of a precedent on the battlefield, I think that would be... I don't think they'd be able to beat that, really, for me.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing is, as well, about Fire Emblem is, like, a lot of them were handheld games. And as I've mentioned a lot, like, I've never had a Nintendo handheld before. So, like until the Switch. So, like, if it was a handheld game or series, like, I've missed it. So like,
No,
yeah,
that's fair.
Three Houses was like
Um,
me just coming in going like, oh, I've heard so much about this, and it's living up to all of my expectations.
I love that. I love that. I'm so glad. The series is great. I really recommend Awakening. Echoes is good because there's actually 3D dungeons you can explore, kind of like Fantasy Star style, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah,
So that's really cool too. You can also like survey locations, like if you're in like a village, you can actually survey the village and look for like supplies and other stuff and speak to villagers that are there. So
that's cool.
Echoes is good if you want something a little different.
I'm
But
always
Awakening is amazing.
I'm always after something a little different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's start on the road to wrapping this podcast up because it's time to
Sounds
do
good to
games out
me.
this week. There's not many. On June 23rd, that's Thursday, Sonic Origins comes to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Relive the classic adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic CD in this new remaster. Rugnar also comes to Switch and PC. Rugnar is a platformer without enemies, but many traps are hidden in the darkness. Help Rugnar explore gloomy places with his bag and a few candles as his sole equipment. And then, funnily enough, on Friday, June 24th, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes comes to Nintendo Switch. Uncover the fates of three great powers in Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes for Nintendo Switch. A different story set in the universe of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Command vast forces in real-time battles that blend the strategy of Fire Emblem with action-packed Warriors-style gameplay to unravel the diverging paths of Fordland's new future. Boom. I like
Boom.
the mixture, like, because like they're talking about like mixing the gameplay styles of Three Houses with Warriors. And the thing that
Mm-hmm.
makes me excited to try that is they did that with Persona 5 Strikers and it worked magnificently.
Yeah, they also did it with Zelda with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and they also did it with Fire Emblem Warriors. But I much prefer this idea of original stories set in the universes of
Yeah,
games rather than this fan service fest,
yeah.
which are good. Like the Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors games
Oh,
were
yeah.
good, but
Well,
I feel like it's better to tell a real story.
no, I mean, I know exactly what you mean because like Persona 5 Strikers was a sequel to Persona 5. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, like, that to me was so much cooler. Like they
Oh
nailed the
yeah.
gameplay, but they
Mm-hmm.
and the tone and the art style, but also it's a continuation. And I was like, oh my god, I like, and because you never think you're gonna get more Persona 5, right? Like 6 will come out and they'll move on, but here I am playing a
Yeah.
sequel.
And it's great how they managed to fit their own like brand of combat and gameplay so seamlessly into these stories and events that unfold. Like it's quite impressive. Like with the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Hmm.
Like it's set during the war, 100 years before Breath of the Wild. So it was good to see that the actual events unfold in front of you, seeing Hyrule Town actually being built and stuff and fully constructed. It was so cool to see.
Absolutely,
So I want to see
definitely.
more of that. But then I also want to see Mario Warriors. So
That's
I don't
amazing.
know.
That's a great idea. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just counting. So it's time for the final. I'm thinking about Mario Warriors. That would be amazing. It's time for the final segment of the podcast, which is Open Critic Head to Head. This is the game that we play every week where we try to guess the Open Critic average of at least one upcoming game. Whoever guesses closest to the score gets 1 point. If you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. And last week, it was myself and Moody trying to guess the Open Critic average of Neon White. I said 88 never fails. Moody guessed 81 at the time of recording. Neon White has an Open Critic average of 88, which gives Amy 2 points. But Moody's not here, so I can't go over him because it makes the current scores Amy 14, Moody 8. But our guests have 2 points. Tori, do you remember last time you were here? And I said, no
Go on.
pressure, no pressure. Our guests haven't gotten any points. So, like, all the pressure of scoring points is on you. And
Mm-hmm.
then you got the Open Critic average of the quarry. Like, you nailed it. You got a
Really?
double pointer.
Heck yes. Let's go. That's great.
Guests are off the board, and it's all thanks to you.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
good.
yeah, you managed to get the Quarry, and I got the Mario Strikers one.
Nice.
But this week, it's not about the Quarry or Mario Strikers. It's about Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Moody's already guessed that it's going to get an 80 on OpenCritic. What do you think
I
it's
think
going
it'll
to
be higher
have?
than 80 because people that have played it have said it's amazing, and I tried the demo out and I agree. It's very, very good.
Yeah, someone
But
came
I
into my
know how
chat.
people feel.
Someone came into my chat last night. One of my regulars came into my chat last night while I was playing Faz on Twitch and was like, "I've played the demo. It's amazing." And I was like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, okay." Um,
Mm. I'm gonna go for 87.
87.
Mm.
And again, like people, so like I'm guessing like people might be looking at this game and looking up and seeing how Warriors games in the past have done, and there've been some really good games. But I think people forget that Strikers was one of these games as well, and Strikers was really well
True.
received. Um,
Mm.
I can't. I just like to talk about Persona 5 Strikers whenever I get the chance.
Hey, absolutely.
But my guess is going to be an 82.
82.
82.
Hmm.
That's where
Hmm.
I'm going.
That's fair. I reckon this could be received as highly as Age of Calamity or higher, actually, because I think it fits more with the audience of Fire Emblem
Sure.
than what Age of Calamity does. There's definitely a difference in audience
I
for
remember a
people who
lot of people
strictly like
talking about.
certain genres.
I remember a lot of people talking about Age of Calamity when it came out. It was like really positively. So I think they're
Mm.
getting better and better as time is going on as well. Like these Warriors like spin-offs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this one looks like the most polished. Visually, it's actually I would say I'd go as far to say it's pretty. Yeah, it's a good looking game, and I wouldn't expect that of a Warriors game if I'm being honest.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, like Dynasty Warriors games, like especially like the Dynasty Warriors games, like they don't look great.
No, it's more about the giant waves of foes that you get to
Sure.
wipe out with huge combos, but they managed to pull it off really well with the new Fire Emblem. So, and more importantly, the story looks great. The whole twist of like Byleth being the villain, and it looks like it's going to be really good.
Um, it does. Maybe I'll even get around to it. We'll see if I'm not playing too many Xbox demos.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to do it for episode 309 of the Words About Games podcast. Thank you for filling in again, Tori.
As always, I'm happy to be here. It's always
Considering
good fun.
the summons was sent at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's fine. Honestly, it's fine. It's been really good fun, like always.
Awesome. That's great. I'm really happy that you decided to do it because I was like, I had a cancellation at like 4:30 in the afternoon, so it was like I got 4 hours to find someone. And the first person I messaged said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So that was amazing.
Hey, I'm glad I was your first
Of
choice.
course you were. If it was up to me, you'd be here every week. But
Oh, bless you.
I'm sure you've got a life.
I'll I'll probably be here more often in the future.
Oh, I'm definitely going to invite you like more often. See that's
Yeah.
this is how I started with Moody. Like just it was like I'll invite him on every now and again, and then he's never said no. I'll keep inviting him on, and then boom, he's here like every week.
Regular.
But then he went away at PlayStation. And I mean, if I'm gonna
Yeah.
lose a podcast co-host, like to a company, another company, like I'm a company, to a company, like I mean, how mad can I be that I lost him to PlayStation?
You know what? That's a really good point.
Like I mean, it is the Words About Games podcast. Like, if I'm gonna lose him
Hmm.
to anyone, a game site, a game company, like would desire stand up. But he's back next week. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm sure we'll bicker
That's
like we
good
always do.
news. Yeah.
But anyway, I was wrapping up. That's gonna do it. Thanks very much for joining me, Tori. It's been awesome.
It really has.
Say good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.